Congrats on getting beyond 1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building. And you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond 1 million. Trevor Mauch.
What is up, man?
It's great to see you as always. I know we got this little baby snippet of Trevor in Hawaii, but weren't able to have a long conversation. So I'm grateful to have you here, man.
Dude, I'm pumped to be here too, Brad. I know I was trying to remember like the year that you and I first met, but it was probably at an event in Vegas, I'm guessing, somewhere along the way. And you, like, as I think about the business relationships that I've had over the last decade or more, there's only like a handful that I've been working with for the whole time, pretty much the whole time. And, one of them is my CFO company that we helped build that company that runs all the finances for us and things like that. And then I look at it and go, it's like, then there's Brad, who's been processing pretty much the majority of all of our payments as we've grown. And man, it's been really cool seeing your journey, and I always love seeing your adventure. So honored to be on here with you.
Oh, I love it. Well, I appreciate that, man. It's great to work with your CFO team, and also great to work with you. And likewise, it's awesome to see the progress of Carrot over time, which was previously on Carrot, or was it always Carrot, but that was the URL?
Dude, so here's a good story on this. So really quick, it was never on Carrot. So I'll say that the on Carrot thing was our domain name, but here's where the interesting story comes in: is we're now on the domain carrot.com. So we bought carrot.com back in 2019, and I'll just throw out the headline here, kind of the soundbite. We paid $600,000 for carrot.com, and when people ask that, or when people hear that, they go, "Oh my gosh, you way overpaid for that thing." And it was a 4-year saga to get carrot.com, and we finally got it. We lost it, we got it, we lost it, we got it, and we finally got it. Oh, and God. When we look back on that whole story, and I hear people say, "Man, you overpaid for it," I'm like, dude, buying carrot.com was one of the best business decisions for our brand that we have made here at Carrot, because in that time period, people were calling us on Carrot because our domain was on carrot.com. It was the best domain we could get for that at that time. And I'd be announced at events to speak or on podcasts and like, "Hey, this is Trevor Mauch with On Carrot." I'm like, guys, On Carrot doesn't even make sense. Like as a functional phrase, it doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. Yet half of the industry thought that was our company name. And so this is like a good lesson in branding and doubling down. Is at some point we just said, you know what? How serious are we about literally owning the brand of a vegetable? Like, how serious are we about owning this, the color orange, the word carrot? And either we're, and then I was project out. I say, let's say we got big. And at this time we were probably doing around 4 or 5 million a year. We're doing about 13 million right now a year. It's like, let's say we got big. Would we look back and just like regret that we didn't pay an extra $200,000-$300,000 for this to guarantee we got it?
Yeah.
And my answer 100% was 100% yeah. Like, worst case scenario, this is an asset. Let's say we just torpedo this business. I could sell this domain minimum for $300,000 to $400,000 based off of all the other Carrot startups that are out there that are venture funded. Minimum. And so I'm really talking only a couple $100,000 in risk in exchange for guaranteeing we can own the brand. And we've so like bathed our industry in orange that we literally have our clients sending us text messages and messages of their dinner. It has a giant carrot on it, and they think about us. I call it mental retargeting, Brad. It's like, if you guys want to get free mind space in people, you find some sort of way to grab something that's identifiable in the normal everyday world that you brand so well in your industry that every time they see that normal everyday thing, they think about you and your company. They see Instacart, dude, they think about us. They see any of those things, they think about us. Free advertising.
So, all right. So I have to tell this story now. So first of all, I want to talk about the mental branding, but the idea of quote unquote overpaying for something is really, really, really valuable for, I think, people to know, but specifically entrepreneurs. What are you doing with your time if you're negotiating down a variable, a delta that doesn't matter? How much of your time are you spending to negotiate down a delta, and how much mental capacity are you losing by doing that instead of just paying a little more and moving on? Like, fuck it, write the check and move on. So I think that's like a great lesson. And two, it makes me think about this. You stumbled upon this with Carrot or deliberately did it, but I had a woman that I dated for about 5 years. And within the first month, she told me that her favorite number was 4. And I'm like, great. Okay. Casual over a drink. And then over time, she would see a 4 and she'd get all excited and she'd freak out. And then she'd see like 4 and she'd get excited. And then she'd see 4 and get excited. And I was like, okay, what's the deal with the 4s? And she goes, well, when I was a child, my cousin told me that every time you see a 4, a boy is thinking about you. And every time you see 4, a boy is thinking about kissing you. And every time you see 4, at some point it was marriage, but that was the general story. And so she tells me this. And then throughout the initial 6 months and then a year and then 5 years of dating her, every time I see 4s, I think about her.
Oh, I gotcha.
And I think, what a sneaky bitch after the fact. And I say that obviously lovingly. I love the woman to death, even today. But I thought, man, what a creative lesson in marketing, right? There was this narrative, and I don't think she premeditated this, but you certainly could in your business with Carrots, right? And I thought, she created this really heartfelt story that connected me, drew me in, and then conditioned. And even today, when I see 44 or 444, I think about her.
Dude, I love that. And I could talk about this marketing branding stuff all day long, because like the kind of the last final tidbit on this that I'll toss out there is I think a lot of companies, entrepreneurs aren't as intentional with their brand or the branding as they could be. And you don't have to get all fancy, right? Like you don't have to get crazy fancy and have like a vegetable or whatever. But I think we can all do certain things in our business that build connection with our prospect, that build connection with our client, whether you're an enterprise level company or on down to, we're a SMB, a B2B SaaS software, right? We mainly work with real estate investors, real estate agents, things like that. And you can do little things like this, like at success milestones in their journey with you, where it literally could be after they join or they get their first deal done or they hit that first success point. Send them something in the mail, right? And so if I were to flip the camera around and show you that wall over there, it's filled with our t-shirts. It's filled with our positivity t-shirts. It's filled with our water bottles that we send out to our clients, and try to find things that are everyday things that they could use on the daily basis, right? Whether it's a water bottle like this, and then you tell them the importance of hydrating and things like that, or whether it's, if you're going to get t-shirts and gear, guys, get the most comfortable t-shirts so they actually wear them. Don't buy the Gilgen or whatever they're called. They feel like you're wearing cardboard. Like, we hear all the time from our clients, because they wear them all the time. They've been wearing them for 4 years. Like, dude, I wore this thing out because it's the most comfortable thing in my dresser, or my wife took my shirt. I'm like, amazing. Or I'll show you one last thing, Brad, then we can dive into it.
No, it's great.
Dive into actual business stuff and how to scale a business into 8 figures here.
Hey, but, I think all this is relevant.
So this is the last thing here. We started doing this dumb stuff here where we're going, How do we, the second that you can start to engage your customers' family, okay, the second you can start to engage things that your customer cares about over and above their business or over and above the problem that you're trying to solve, the more deep you can take that relationship with them. And so we started to make Carrot coloring books. So we literally went to like Fiverr.com. And before the holidays, we'd have Fiverr. We have these cartoon characters. We call them Carrot Buds. But we made a coloring book that literally every page in the coloring book is a story in a cartoonized way for a child around one of our company core values. And so like one of our company core values is be a beacon of positivity and possibility. So we have like super carrot there on a page doing something to encourage somebody and to lift them up during the day. And now you have that parent who can sit down with their kid with our branding that's not overt, and they can learn amazing values that happen to be ours. Or someone hits a milestone at carrot and they get a super carrot. And who gets these super carrots? Well, they either put them up on their shelf. So when they're on podcasts, dude, you'll see carrots all the time in the background in this industry of our clients up on bookshelves, or their kid has it and it's their kid's favorite toy and they take it to school with them, or their dog took it. So think up ways where we don't have any like carrot branded pens or pencils or things like that. Those are cool, but how do you do things that their kids would want, that their animals would want? How do you do things that their family would love to be involved in? And once you do that, dude, you're like baked into the psyche of that client and prospect.
Man, oh, that's amazing. So that's amazing. I want to ask you a tactical question around that. Yep. I also want to give a good friend, John Rulin, a plug, because great long-term friend of mine, and we grew up in Cutco together. And I have to think acts of service is a love language of mine, but it manifests often through gift giving. But it's the thought process through it. It's the thoughtfulness of the gift that makes me feel connected to somebody.
Yep.
And so John and I have to think that some of my through line of gift giving has come from him over the years, because I've known him forever. Mm-hmm. But the criteria through which I give gifts to individuals, and it could be business gifts, it could be people, are that I want them to be used often.
Yep.
I want them to be super high quality, and I want them to last forever. That's the trifecta. And if I can throw something in that has an immediate consumable as like an additional thing, great, because I know they're going to do it right away.
Love it.
But those three you hit on directly with lots of these things, right? You don't give somebody a t-shirt that is terrible to wear. It's got to be like the best thing ever. Like give them the highest quality name brand shit. That's what people want and what will make them remember you. But these are great. So my question for you is, certainly, that's not your headlining marketing campaign when you're doing $800,000 a year. Like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make stuffed animals shaped like carrots and send them to our target market.
Yeah.
Right? Or is that what you did? I don't know.
Dude, so we'll go back on that part of the journey. Then we can kind of, I'll dive into any rabbit trail you want to, man, on scaling an 8-figure a year business that's bootstrapped and profitable and we're passionate about. We're one of the top 10 in the state of Oregon awards through Portland Business Journal. They award the most philanthropic businesses in the state. And they have like the big businesses and the small. In the last 3 years, we've been top 10 most philanthropic businesses in the state of Oregon. We're profitable, fast growing companies. So we'll dive into how we've done that. But going back on this part of it, honestly, dude, like it's a lot. It wasn't a tactic. It was like, we just want to have fun. Literally, I'm looking at our core values poster across the office from me. Every one of our employees has a core values poster in their office. Their home office, a part of their onboarding package is we give them a poster to put on the wall with the core values. We give them the swag, the certain books. We bathe them in our culture. And we thought, shoot, why aren't we doing this for our customers? Why aren't we bathing our customers in our culture too? And our second core value is literally have fun and be different. And the reason that I put that core value in at the early stages of the business, Brad, was because in my previous company, and we were working together before Carrot, in my previous company, we made some good money, but honestly, I got really burnt out. I got really burnt out in that time period where me and Patrick Riddle, my business partner, were making great money. But I remember waking up one day in 2010, 2011, and earning good mid 6 figures a year as a 20-something-year-old kid. And my wife was at work, in the medical profession, and my young daughter at that time was at the babysitter, and I was supposed to be doing work. I was supposed to be getting up and actually working and like bringing home the bacon for my family. I remember laying there at 10 o'clock in the morning, looking at the ceiling in bed and going like, why don't I want to get up and do work today? Like I had created this business to get freedom and to create an impact. And I don't even want to go work in the very business that I had created. And so around that time, I started to look at entrepreneurship, and I said, and I'll lead into your direct answer for your question here in a second, but it's a lot more than just like, hey, we should make dolls.
I love it.
In that time period, I was going, okay, like, is the entrepreneurial dream not real? Like, are all the people posting stuff online that look like they're insanely happy with their fancy cars, all this money? Like, is that just fake and they're all miserable like me? Or did I just do this wrong? And so I talked to some people who seemed like they were doing it right. And it seemed like that they were actually more often than not, feeling like they were happier as an entrepreneur than not. And it felt like they were in momentum, and like in general, they felt like they had more joy than some of the other entrepreneurs I knew that were just driven into the ground. And so I sat down and wrote down, Brad, I said, let me look at my businesses that I'd had, and let me write down all the things I didn't like about them. And one of the best ways to find what you do like is to write down, first of all, what you don't like. Because oftentimes we struggle to write down a vision, or we struggle to write down what we want our business to become. But it's very easy for us to identify what we don't like about it, right? Or a relationship, right? It's really easy for us to identify what we don't like about that person that we've been dating. Oh man, that's an X on any of my future spouse candidates. But it's harder sometimes to identify all of the details or all of the traits that we do want in a spouse. And so I now just start with, like, let me just document what I don't like. And then it's usually the opposite of what you don't like is what you do want. And so I wrote down, I'm like, I'm not having fun in my business. It's inconsistent. It's unpredictable. I don't feel like what I'm doing is hitting me at my core impact wise. Like, I had a mission statement on the website, but it didn't hit me in my gut to where every day I found myself working towards it. It just felt like some words on a web page. And so I wrote down 5 non-negotiables in 2011. And I said, every business I'm ever going to run moving forward has to meet these 5 non-negotiables. If it doesn't, I either change the business so it does, or I exit the business. I'm not going to be running businesses anymore that meet these 5. And one of the 5 was, I want to actually have fun in my business and have fun be like a part of the business. And so when I was taking these non-negotiables in, it was a couple of years into Carrot, and we were starting to get some good traction. I'm like, man, I kind of baked it in where we're not having as much fun anymore, because we got in like startup mode and we were just jamming on stuff. And one day we just said, well, what if we, here's where it was, dude. I was at IKEA, and at the very end of IKEA, before you like go downstairs, they have the plush doll section. And I was speaking at an event up in Portland, Oregon, and I had a few hours to kill. So I'm like, I don't know, I like IKEA. Let me pop in here. And
it's a very strange decision.
Oh, dude.
You were like, I have spare time, I'm going to IKEA. That was your choice?
I don't know, man. I had no clue why I went in there, but it was awesome. So I go in there, and there's that big plush doll section that was there, and they had like broccoli and they had all kinds of stuff. And I literally looked at that and I said, who would ever buy a stuffed broccoli? Like, who would, seriously? And then I saw a whole section of carrots, man. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy all those. And so I got as many of the blue IKEA bags as I could, and fit all of these carrot dolls in them. They had these little squeakies on them, about like 100.
Hold on, just to be clear, at this point you did own a company called Carrot, or did you just get fascinated with carrot dolls?
No, so yeah, this would have been probably 2014.
You did own a company called Carrot.
That first year, the second year of the business maybe. And so I walked out of there with all these carrot dolls. I'm like, we're just gonna start sending these out to customers. And we looked at our churn data, and we said, well, the biggest drop-off point for people is about day 45. So what if we get everybody that joins this plan type a doll around day 30 to 35 as a gift? And our churn rate started to improve. And then we just started tackling all of the different drop-off points and said, what can we mail people, or what can we deliver to people? And then IKEA stopped making the darn dolls, and we just started making our own custom dolls and launched a new doll design every year for about 5 or 6 years. And we've got a whole line of them now. So it all came with wanting to have fun, dude. I'm like, I can make money, but if I'm not having fun in this darn business, why the heck are we doing it? And we've done a lot of things like that.
Dude, that's so good. I absolutely judge you for going to IKEA in your spare time.
I don't know that I've been there since then, though. So
it's a likely story.
That's right.
Post judgy comments.
That's right.
But I love the idea of. Look, in general, SaaS has turned into this sort of. I don't want to call it predictable, but very systematic, structured framework for growing and building a business. You've got these concrete metrics that you target. This is what a successful growth rate is. This is, this means that. And now I know are a part of Dan Martell's group, or have been, who is a great human. But it's structured. And so you're in the lexicon of SaaS. And so you said you were looking at your churn, and in, a subscription-based business, you're looking at the fall off of the subscription. That's your churn, right? The loss of the customers that you acquired that are no longer sticking around for subscription. But in all businesses, there is a question of what are the moments that are potentially moments of dissatisfaction, or you're not getting the outcome that you want from a customer or a client, and looking for those. And so I made a note there because, we all have them, and looking for those moments and just being present in those moments and being sort of a delight and some uplifting presence in those moments, as you said, made a difference for you with churn, but it has to make a difference in general, right? It adds humanity to the picture.
Dude, and it's so funny. So going back to what you had mentioned there, the core value, we've got 6 of them on my wall. The last one in there is add humanity to business. And so that was a part of our effort too. And we said, man, so much of business is trying to automate out humanity now. Like so many of the tools out there are trying to do that. We even have some tools to automate certain things like that. And so that was one of our aims too, is how do we make our business add humanity back to the equation? The way that we do support, the way that we do our training, the way that our brand is, you can connect with people. And let's do it at every step along the way. And so what you were mentioning there, dude, 100%. The humanity part is one amazing way to stand out right now, because while all your competition is automating all their sequences, making everything so automated potentially, how do you scale you can scale human attention, right? Scale attention to a lot of people, but then pick those points where you actually, you can scale human attention through automation to the masses, but then how do you pick the ones who are at certain milestones or have certain traits that you really give a human touch, like a real human touch that they never expect? Dude, customers will join today. So we have 8,000 customers, bringing in around $1 million a month. And we have customers join today that I will see it come through, and I'll just randomly text message that customer. Like I might do it 10 or 15 times a week. I'm not sitting there looking at the thread come through all the time, but I want to talk with our customers. I enjoy it. And so I'll see the phone number pop through the Slack channel that we just, it's just a flood of stuff now. But I'm like, cool, let me text this customer and just say, hey, a voice text. And I don't just do like a normal text, a voice text. Hey, Brian, just saw you joined. Dude, if there's anything we can help with, go connect with our customer success team or hop on our weekly coaching call. Pump, you're part of the Carrot community now, man. Little things like that, dude. They're fun. And now that person's an evangelist for you forever in the Facebook groups and all over the place. Human attention is big.
Trevor, are you seriously texting people from your personal cell phone number?
100%.
10 or 15 times a week?
100%.
Oh my God, bro.
You know how many how many replies I get?
Probably very few.
On that text message,
you get all of them on that.
All of them, but no one ever texts me back after that.
Well, that's my issue. That's my fear. My internal horrible fear is that my phone is going to get lit up from then to perpetuity. The rest of my life, I'm getting messages from people.
It hasn't happened to me, and I've probably sent hundreds and hundreds of them out, except for maybe like that. There was one actually. I'll take that back. So there was one about a month and a half ago. A client of ours who came to one of our Carrot Camp events here that we have here in Roseburg, Oregon, and he's in our higher level program that's about $1,000 a month. It's a mix between our SaaS and a service play, and we weren't serving him well. We just weren't. It was a newer program in beta, and we weren't serving him well. So he texted me up. He's like, hey, dude, I don't want to bother you, but I just thought you might want to know about this in the business. I'm like, thank you. I didn't know about it. And so for me, in that respect, I'm pumped that guy hit me up. So I was able to connect with my team, and we were able to fix that problem for him.
I'm in War Room. That's one of the groups that I'm a part of that Ryan Dice and others run. They've been clients for a long time, but Ryan got off stage at some place I was at, and he gave out a cell phone number from the stage. And afterwards, I was like, "Dude, you legit just gave out your cell phone number?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Why? Like, what do you do with the text messages?" And he said, "Look, man. First of all, a very small percentage of the people actually ever use the phone number. Like I don't get many texts as a result of that. People feel like that's not the right approach. But second, and this was the key for me, he said, I don't have any obligation to respond. Mm-mm. And for me, that was this moment of clarity around my own boundaries and my own rule set and my own internal shit, right? Of I've been raised through this lens of responsiveness equals success somehow. Mm-hmm. And it's a hell of a pattern to break.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lesson there. And what you just said is super valuable, which is the feedback you get from people in that forum.
Yeah.
Is amazing and something to be grateful for.
And dude, here let me make one more last comment on this part here is in my previous companies, Brad, we made good money, and I think we were really proud of the products we put out. But frankly, I got drained by our client, right? Like the client that we were serving did not give me energy. The client that we were serving completely drained my energy, probably at least 50 to 60% of the time. And when I was writing down those non-negotiables, and in that same time period, one of the biggest change that changed me forever, and that helped lead to building Carrot to what it is I stopped looking at trying to be productive in my work life. Like, you're taught. I remember watching this years and years ago. I think Frank Kern taught this one. I absolutely love Frank and learned so much from him. And this one thing that he taught was like draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper. And on the left side, write down like the things that make you money, and the right side, the things that don't make you money that you're currently doing in an average work week. And then your aim is to take all the things that you're doing that don't make you money and delegate those, get them off your lap, and spend more time on the things that make you money, right? And so I did that. I did that for 3 or 4 years, and we started making decent money. But that, in hindsight, that's what actually drove me into a business I didn't enjoy. That's what drove me into a business that sucked the life out of me. And so in that same time period was where I was looking at the businesses that I had built and why it got me to a point where I was not wanting to wake up and do the work in the businesses I was doing, even though I was making really good money as a young kid. I'm like, what if I flip the equation on this? And what if I stop trying to organize my time and trying to delegate out things that don't make money and have me spend more time on the things that make me money? Because a lot of the things that at that time made me the most money drained me the most. Mm-hmm. And I created a process called the energy audit. I still use it every quarter today. I've got a template on it. People can grab it. No opt-in required. I just want people to use it. But carrot.com/energy, carrot.com/energy, no opt-in required. Just go get it. And you take the same thing, line down the middle of paper. And then this time now you write gives energy and drains energy. Mm-hmm. And then at the bottom of that, I have like a ratio. And you write down like, there's an exercise on that URL to walk you guys through it. But you put down all the things that give you energy in life in general. Like and especially put the things on there that you're currently not doing right now because you think you're too busy, like working out or doing whatever. Write the things down that give you the most energy in life and business, especially the things you're not right now doing. On the other side now, you write down the things that are draining your energy on an average work week in life and business. And that's how I know how I delegate. I've been doing this since 2011. And every single quarter I pull up, do the energy audit, and I then circle the 1 or 2 things that are draining my energy the most. And at the bottom of that sheet, like I said, there's a ratio, and what's not measured can't be moved, like people say. And so write down like the ratio of what percentage of your average work week are you spending on the energy drain column versus energy give column. And back in 2012, it was like 70% energy drain. No wonder I didn't want to get up and work because it's draining the crap out of my energy. And I said, what if I could just like every quarter swap out 1 or 2 of these things that are draining my energy the most, delegate them out. And then I swap out that time. Let's say there's 2 things over here. They have to get done. It's what makes me money even, but I don't want to do them anymore. They drain my energy. I pull back very first things in that quarter. I pull back, create the process or just say no to it, get someone to delegate that to. Now that thing that makes us money is cranking and I don't have to do it anymore. And now I say, man, I've got 10 hours a week now. I'm now going to go to the energy gives column and pick 1 or 2 of the things I'm not doing enough of that give me energy, no matter if they make me money or not. And so over about 2 years, I swapped from 70% energy drain to 70% energy give. And that started to take things off for me. But in that time period, that is exactly how I started to lead towards a business that I enjoyed more, towards a business that I was actually more, I showed up to wanted to do the work that I absolutely loved most days, more days than not. And that's the reason I started growing a company. Before then, I'm like, dude, I don't want employees. Employees sound like a burden. I've got a multiple $1 million a year payroll now. And back then I would have thought that sounded like a nightmare.
Yep.
And the way that I did it was by 100% buying energy. It's like, dude, I'm just going to buy energy every single quarter. And the funny thing is, when you spend time doing the things that give you energy, you make a lot more money because you can be really good at those things and show up with passion every day.
Man, that's a beautiful frame. I mean, first of all, I just spent, like the last several minutes critically analyzing myself and my own behaviors and my own business. But and in addition, and feeling bad about myself for a while and trying to figure out how to change patterns.
No, dude.
No. This is my own reflection and this is what I do. But like I said, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment and beautiful thing. My question for you with that is when do you do that? Is that feasibly? And I said this about the marketing too, and we didn't get to a concrete date. Well, I guess we did get to a concrete date, but I feel like, these are things that, you sit in a business class at a business school and they talk about building a business plan and a future vision and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the time that gets in the way of the new entrepreneur getting traction, getting from 0 to 1 million bootstrapped. Yep. And it's not until you clear runway and you're at, a few million that you have the space to think about, okay, well, how do I retool this? Right? Yeah. What am I not getting out of business? And I guess in your case, you're multiple businesses in when you found this. But where do you think it's appropriate to prioritize energy over profit?
Yeah. Dude, that's a good question, man. I think at the end of the day, and we've all heard this number before, right? Where income wise, there's diminishing returns past, I think they say it's $70,000 or $80,000 a year. And for any of us who have been fortunate enough to build businesses that are into the millions, let's say, let me know if you guys relate to this as you're listening to this. So in the early days, I'm thinking, man, when I get to $100,000 a year, dude, like life is going to change. When I was struggling to make $3,000 or $4,000 a month. And so you hit $100,000 a year and things don't change because at that point, one thing that I've learned many years ago, and I've really been recognizing it a lot more now since we crossed over 10 million, is things break at 3s and 10s in your business, right? So when you go from $30,000 a year to $100,000 a year, things break. And here's what that means. It's usually a communication cadence that breaks because now you added more team members or different types of team members and a process that needs to be created and trained out. So communication, cadence, and process are what usually need to change at the 3s and 10s to break through the next level. And so for me, it's like you cross over $100,000 a year, you think that the clouds are going to part, angels are going to sing. They don't, because now you have new problems and you're making good money. But now you go, shoot, where do I put my time? Because I'm so crazy busy right now. I don't even have time to enjoy this. Because you're probably a solo operator or maybe one person, maybe. And so then at that point, that is where you should do the energy audit and go, shoot, where am I putting my energy? Where do I get it? Because I need to make sure that my business doesn't just make a profit, because it's making a profit, but it's killing me also. I want to make sure that it makes a profit, not at the expense of my health and my happiness, but how do I make it so my health and happiness and energy are first and the profit is the result of me showing up with high energy in my business more effectively? And so at the $100,000, or at any of those 3s and 10s, that's when you're going to feel the biggest pinch point. You solve those problems at $100,000 a year, and it's probably like this 1 or 2 processes. At that point, it's getting a marketing and a sales machine that actually brings predictable, consistent leads that'll get you to the $300,000 mark. You might be able to get there with 1 or 2 employees or less, maybe even a solo operator. But then to get from 300,000 to $1 million, dude, once you are right around that $300,000 mark, you're going to get yanked back into the business and it's going to be hard again. And that's where the energy audit is really important, to stay ahead of that, to go, shoot, I know I need to delegate something because I feel like I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week again, and I can't keep my head above water. What do I delegate? Well, you should delegate the things that drain your energy the most. So you want to keep showing up to do the business. What I'd found, Brad, is we can exchange for only a certain period of time, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5, we can exchange our energy and happiness for profits for only so long before we get burnt out and we get distracted and we go do something new. And I call it the 3 to 5 year turn and burn cycle, where we're all excited about starting up this new business, right? Where most of us entrepreneurs are the visionaries. We love the startup phase. We love going out there and creating something. But then about 3 to 5 years into that business, maybe 2, you get into maintenance mode. And you've gotten past the $300,000 a year mark, and you're between $300,000 and $1 million, or between $1 million and $3 million, or whatever it is. And you've got things humming and they're working. And you start to go, oh my gosh, I'm doing a lot of the things that drain my energy now, and I don't like my business anymore. Like I was back in 2010, 11, 12. I don't like my business anymore. And so what most people do in their first rodeo or two is most people look at their business and go, shoot, I don't see a path for me to enjoy my business a lot more like I did 3 years ago. Let me go start a new one. And you look at distractions, you look at new shiny objects, and you innovate outside of that business that got you there instead of inside of it. And because that's what we know, is we know that we can go back to the startup phase and get energy again. But we don't know how to get energy in that phase of the business that we have there. And so that's what I suggest to people, is do it quarterly, because then you're continually pruning proactively. Or if you get to a spot where you look back and 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row, you're like, I am so wiped out by my work. That should be a trigger to go do the energy audit and go, what is it that's wiping me out? Why? How do I get it off my lap? And what am I going to replace with it that gives me energy so I enjoy my work again? So last thought on this is, if we don't routinely, continually prune the energy drainers and add back on our schedule energy gives, and I just did it again like 2 months ago, where I got to that spot, Brad, where I'm like, dude, this whole month has been crazy because we crossed over 10 million. I got sucked back into the business. Things were breaking. Communication cadence was breaking. We had to now document better playbooks for our leaders to then grow into and scale out decision making at the 10 to 30 million. And then you start to go, oh, shoot, maybe I should sell this business now because it's getting hard. And I kind of don't like it like I did several years ago. Maybe I'm not the guy who can grow it from 10 to 30 million. Maybe, maybe I just need to hire a new CEO. Maybe I'm not the guy who should be doing this. But then you look at it and go, shoot, that's not it at all. It's that I don't know, like I'm not currently the CEO who can run a $30 million a year business. So I need to learn how to do that. I need to learn better habits and disciplines. But then I go, what are the things that are draining my energy, and find amazing people to do that. And then I enjoyed my work again. And so continually prune it, or when you hit a spot where you're so burnt out and stressed, or it's like 2 or 3 weeks in a row where you're not liking your work anymore, pick up that energy out of it, do it, and delegate the energy drains.
So the catalyst of that question, or the genesis of that question, was around my frame of this being a moment in time to execute based on energy versus based on profitability.
Yep.
And the reframe and what you just said, or what I heard, was this is a tool for evaluation to realign your life, realign your behaviors inside the business to enjoy the process more, which consequently will create better results because you're being pulled towards something you like versus having to push ahead. Is that fair?
100%, man. And so Dan Martell, you mentioned Dan earlier. One thing I remember Dan saying a couple of years ago to me as we were crossing another one of those thresholds from the 3 to 10, and I remember him challenging me, and he was saying something like he's like, dude, entrepreneurs don't want to grow through pain. Like oftentimes entrepreneurs don't or won't grow through pain. And when we make that decision, the things that manifest out of that are what I mentioned before. Shoot, this is so hard. Maybe I should sell my company. Shoot, this is so hard. Now I'm going to slow down making decisions that I know I should make that are actually going to help us be successful. I'm going to self-sabotage certain things. And there's a couple other things that pop up in those phases where it's not natural for us to want to grow through pain. So we'll hit the brakes and do anything we can do to not have pain in this business. And like I said, oftentimes it's us exiting it because we don't want to grow through to learn how to be that better person who can lead the company at that level, or we'll self-sabotage and the company starts to work backwards, right? And so that's the thing that's always up on my mind as it relates to energy and growing the business and moving through those levels of, the 100,000 to 300,000, 300,000 to a million to 3 to 10, 10 to 30, is asking myself, when we were at 9.5 to 10 million a year, things got really hard again. And from 3 to 10, it's all about building a leadership team. It's like, 1 to 3 is you just got to get people to buy back your time. There's probably marketing things and product things that you did really, really, really well. And now you just need to document those and hire people and plug those into those roles so they can do more of what you did. 3 to 10, it's about a leadership team, building your first level of directors, maybe your first VP potentially. 10 to 30, it's about equipping that leadership team far more effectively and elevating the leadership team so you can step back and serve them rather than your team serving you. And so during that phase of crossing over the 10 million, dude, it was hard. And Martell, like I said, was challenging me. And I'm like, I was taking acquisition offer, solicitations where when you hit the Inc. 500 or 5,000 list as much as we have, you get emails every week from people wanting to buy the company. And I remember getting the first offer that was for 65 million in cash a year and a half ago. And I'm looking at this in the midst of that transition, and we're still at the tail end of some of that pain. Right. But I think we're almost there getting through that phase. I'm looking at it going, man, this would be a pretty easy way out of this pain to sell this company. I'd have a hunk of cash in the bank. And it was real. It was real. Then you're thinking about, man, like, how would this change the game? And for me, Brad, I look at that and I go, okay, well, what actually would change in my life if I took it? So the pain, it seems like the pain would be relieved. Like in my mind, I think it would be the current pain that I'm trying to grow through. And then I started to conceptualize that and I go, well, would it really be though? So they'd probably want to have me stay on for a period of time, right? And once they really dug into the details at a deep level in their due diligence, they'd probably find a couple of these things that are giving me pain and probably devalue the company a little bit. So I'd have to fix these anyway, right? So I got to fix them anyway. But then number 2, I'm like, what would I do with the money? Well, I would take the money and I don't spend my money already, so I'd probably go buy other companies or invest in other companies. I go, well, cool. How would I effectively buy and invest in other companies? Well, shoot, I've got to know how to actually manage and coach that leader, that CEO, and I've got to actually know how to invest. Like, how is a company investable if I don't know how to go from 10 to 30? If I don't know how to build a leadership team? And so I'm looking at it going, dude, so I could take 55, 65 million in cash. And then I'd have another burden and potential stress of now managing $50 million, which is first world problems. But then I'd be putting money into spots where I don't know how to guide them through the next level. I don't know that. Yeah. And so then I started to internalize that. And I'm like, dude, my biggest thing is I just need to grow through this pain. I need to learn how to be a CEO of a company that can grow past 10 million into the 20, 30. So then I can take that knowledge and actually buy businesses like we bought our first one in January, a multiple 7-figure SaaS company that we purchased. And I'm like, dude, now I've got a vision on why I want to grow through this pain. Like I'm pumped to grow through this pain. And I look at that pain as joy now because I see what's on the other side of me being a better leader that can purchase and invest in companies and amplify their businesses to make a greater impact in the world as well. So that was a long answer to, I don't remember what your question was, but essentially manifesting this pain in a different way, looking at the energy side of it, and then always recognizing where we are in that business life cycle and the skill set you as a CEO have to adopt. 10 to 30 is building a leadership team that's strong, elevating them, you stepping back, you serving them, scaling out decision-making across leaders. And it's a challenging phase.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a lot of things worth noting there. One is the framework between what you should be doing or what you can be doing as a CEO between 1 and 3, 3 and 10, 10 and 30. And the other thing that I want to highlight is this notion of, is selling the business actually going to give you what you think it is? Yeah. And I think that there are a number of things to hit on based on who you are. Now, the first is it going to notably change your lifestyle? And if you're, depending on what your margin is, if you're making a few $1 million a year and then you get a lump sum of 50 and then you have taxes and, we can play that game, whatever that is that going to change your day to day? What does that look like? What does it actually do? That's worth assessing. But I think the other that you hit on, there are two branches to this, but what you hit on was how is avoiding the current challenge going to impact your future? And the two branches here are, you went down this path of how is it going to impact my strategic plan in the future? And your strategic plan is to invest in other businesses, and you are not going to provide the same value or be able to analyze in the same way because you won't have the skill set. Right. But I suspect, and I know this is true of me, but I suspect that with you and with several people we know, and by the way, there are tons that this won't apply to that would be happy to take the money and go, fuck around for the rest of their life and just be a rich asshole. No, it's great. It's fine. That's amazing. Yeah, and by the way, even if you're not like, I say that again and playfully, the rich asshole thing, even if you use that money and you're productive with it, and that's sort of the final chapter of your business, or you passively invest, that's fine. That's great. That's a choice. You have to ask yourself, and I think this is true of you, how you're going to feel about yourself if you didn't work through that challenge. Yeah. So you sell the business and you know that part of the driver for selling the business was things got tough. I never conquered this skill. And if you get back to the place where you have an opportunity to work through that skill again, let's say you start a new company and you work through and finally get to that place where you can work through that skill, it's going to take you years to get back there to potentially work on that skill. Yeah. And right now, in the face of this offer and sale, you have the opportunity to work through the skill. Yep. And it's a challenge, but you have the opportunity to do it and get better as a human. Dude. And that's ultimately what I heard from you and how I internalized it.
So well said, man. And one thing about this phase as well, and some people are way faster learners than me, but some part about this phase is I don't want to be having daily or having weekly deliverables in a business forever, right? I'm 39 years old now. I love what I do, but there's challenges. And one of the things is I had become too much of a bottleneck in certain parts of the company because I was a functional strategic leader there, right? Like there's leaders leading the day-to-day of those functions of the business, but the strategy in defining that strategy was something that was still in my bucket. And traditionally, like a VP level role is in charge of strategy. They align it with the director. A director is in charge of executing the strategy. And then you have the C levels, of course, that are vision. And in between there's handoffs all the time. And it doesn't matter what you call the titles of them. A lot of people call them the head of or whatever, but functionally, C level is vision, thinking 3, 5, 10 years out. VP level is strategy, in charge of the 12 to 24 months out. Directors in charge of executing the strategy, in charge of like this quarter through 12 months out. And then your individual contributors are executing the quarterly stuff. And so the reason I bring this up is I got really good at hiring and delegating the executors. I got really good at hiring pretty darn good directors and pretty darn good individual contributors that are amazing people. And as I was looking at this decision and looking at potentially buying companies or investing into them, one of the biggest skills, if not the biggest skill that you need to have, is hiring amazing leaders and an amazing executive to run that business. And I'm like, I hadn't got good at that yet. I'm actually terrible at it. And so that was one of the things. And Dan asked me that question often, where he said, when you're at a spot in your business where you're having challenges or struggles, or you're just wondering what's next or wondering how to grow it, ask the question of, if someone were to buy your business, what's the first thing that they would change in your business? Because you usually know what it is, right? And Dan asked me that. We were up in Toronto one time and he asked me that question. I'm like, it's my marketing leader. Like, that's what they would change. And now it's a different answer. And so then if you ask that question, if someone were to buy your business, what's the first thing that they would change? You likely know the answer. And then we have a path to go solve that now. And you can go, okay, well, I'm just going to learn how to solve that thing. I'm going to learn how to recruit amazing leaders. And so we started to build a better recruiting engine. I started to go, you know what? I need to have more conversations with people who are VP or C-level type of people, so I know what one even looks like. That's awesome. So I hit up my buddies who have like amazing CTOs or amazing this. I'm like, dude, like, what's it feel like to work with an A-level CTO? What's it feel like to work with an A-level VP of marketing? And then I go, can I talk with that person? Like, I just want to ask them some questions. Like, what do you do on the daily basis? What do you look at? What things do you read? What blogs? And I start to learn how they think. Because now when I go hire a VP of whatever or a C-level of whatever, now I know what an A player actually looks like because I've never worked with one. And so that was a part of that trigger for me to go, that's a challenge I need to learn. It's how we're going to grow through this next phase. It's a skill that will live forever to where I can spin up efforts or scale efforts, even nonprofit efforts, way faster and better, because I can start at the top, just like Good to Great, where he says, first get the right people on the bus and then you do the what. I'd always done the what first. I'd always like, we're identifying the what. Now we're going to go hire the people to do it. And I thought that Good to Great had it backwards for years. And now I'm at this spot where I'm like, I got what they mean now. Because now to get to the 30, it's not a what question. It's 100% who question, going, who are the people that can think at that level and get us there? And how do I find them? And then how do I actually identify them and hire them? And that's the biggest challenge that I'm learning through right now. It's hard, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's great. There's this idea of you don't know what you don't know. And as you grow, you get to these different places where you realize, oh shit, I've been hearing this forever. And this is what it means. Oh, this is the thing. Yep. You actually reminded me of, I watched entirely too much Friends. I said watched, like I continue to watch it. I've seen way too many episodes many times. And there's this episode where Chandler is married at this point and he's on the road and this woman hits on him. And he's like, whoa, I'm married. And she goes, well, yeah, me too. And then she tries to kiss him again. And he goes, no, happily married. And she goes, oh, what's that like? And it makes me think, if you're living in a certain frame, in a certain context all the time, you have a certain set of rules and you believe that those are the rules of life as they have to be, or the rules of business as they have to be. And it's not until that you have exposure to the other thing. It's not until you've talked to the people that live in that space, the CTO that is the A level, the CEO that gets to play with the CTO that's A level, until you can understand what that's actually like to be in a new environment, a new space. So I think the notion of just stepping out and being around those people for that first step of exposure is super powerful.
Oh, it is. And dude, you're amazing at this, because one of the things that you do really, really well is you're always out there meeting new people. You're in the groups, and you did that amazing trip with Cam and Harold and the whole crew down there to Antarctica and Chile and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that, looking back to, let's say, the last 3 years, the first 3 to 5 years of the business, I was so deep in so many of those communities, getting to know lots of people and learning at a high level. We talked about Alex Hormozi earlier. Like, I was in the room at Russell Brunson's mastermind when Alex and Layla were there as boyfriend and girlfriend still at the time. And Russell called him on that thing of like, hey, I think you're going after the wrong business of building gyms. You should be teaching people. I was in that room. And so in that period of time, I was so connected to people that were bringing me up. And then I kind of internalized too much for probably 2 to 3 years, where I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take what I learned and just execute. And we did, and it helped us get where we are. But then it was probably another 1 to 3 years too late, maybe, where things got a little harder quicker than they should have, because I wasn't connected with the right people that were 1 or 2 levels ahead then. And that's when I plugged into Martell's group at SaaS Academy and things like that. So being around those people in the right groups, whatever it is, if it's War Room, if it's other masterminds, EO, YPO, like whatever the heck is right for you, get plugged in early and often so you can see what that's like, the person 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of you, before you get stuck in those areas.
Yeah. And that can be tough when you're trying to execute. My general ambitions in life are to find alignment in life versus balance. I want all the things in life to work together.
Yep.
I don't want to jump into something and neglect something else and then jump back to it and neglect the other thing. Yep. I want alignment. I want things to work together. And part of that for me with being a part of these communities or groups is acknowledging that I'm not always there to learn and execute and the tactics or the strategies. I'm there to be around people that are living in a similar or different way than me, but have maybe aligned ambitions or aligned values. And that's enough, right? I don't have to allocate all this space to be in perpetual student mode. it does serve me to perpetually be around relationships, even if they vary from seemingly purely social to intentionally, deliberately, aggressively business.
Yep.
Carving out that space serves me long run.
Yep. Dude, here's I've been kind of noodling over this the last 2-3 months, and this will be my last thought. Then I've got to bounce to a customer advisory board call or get to hang out with my customers for 40 minutes, which is fun. I do one of those a month.
Wow. Hold on.
Dude.
How does that work? How do you get the people on that call? What's the construct for that?
Oh, I love it. So the nexus behind it first was as we hired a bunch of people, I felt we got too far from the customer. And so the people that were working on our product, on our software, or whatever, are amazing people, and they're talking with customers, but not at the level and the depthness that I felt we needed to truly innovate at the levels to have our next breakthrough. And so then I wanted some of our biggest evangelists, some of the people who are like our innovators in our software that are crushing with our system, the best executors, perfect core values match. I wanted the customer success team to suggest some people who are perfect core values match, but struggling with Carrot, right? They're our ideal avatar, but they're struggling. And then they added a couple more people. So there's 25 people in it. It's a mix of people between, like I said, primary avatars, ideal core values match. All of them have to be ideal core values match, but an array of people absolutely crushing it that can help us elevate and we can learn from them, and people who are struggling so we can learn why they're struggling and we can make it better. And so once a month we get on a Zoom call. My product team leads it. The product team comes with some demos and some things we're working on. They show them behind the scenes and some cool stuff, get feedback on it before they can. We have those customers bring wins. So that's a perfect spot to get immediate case studies, testimonials out of it. And then our product team has a direct line to those 25 people. On a one-on-one basis, they can hit them up. Hey, I want to run this by you really quick. They'll hop on a 10-minute Zoom and run it by them, have them work with the prototype. But then once a month, I hop on with them and I can get insight from them and I can ask their questions. And this one here is a quarterly session I do with that cab where they can just come ask me any questions they want. It's kind of like a little bonus. Like, hey guys, I'm going to be here for 45 minutes. Just toss me questions. And so it's fun. You get to learn a lot. And I always come out of it with energy, and my product team does as well, because they're like, whoa, we have these people who are crushing it with Carrot. Because oftentimes your employees on product or customer success or support, oftentimes they get focused too much in on the problems, like the problems people are having, versus all the amazing successes that are happening. There needs to be a good balance of both. But yeah, it's a once a month call and it's an hour. I love it. It's an energy thing. So when I was looking at energy drainers, I hit up my team like, I love talking with my customers, guys, the ones that are core value matches. Can you set this up? You guys line this out. I'd love to hop on it because it's going to give me more energy when I finish that call than when I started. It's going to help me be a better CEO for you guys and better product guy for you, for the customers too.
Well, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So many notes from that. You had a closing sentiment, perhaps.
I did, man, but I completely forgot what it was before I had said it.
Well, look, there are no short of 17 other things that I want to talk to you about. And I know you've got a hard stop here, but I mean, phenomenal amount of takeaways for me of things that I have to reflect on, think about, implement. And I think, one of the things that I like, one of the things I aspire to in general in life is just deliberateness of purpose, just to be concrete in my approach and rationale for what I'm doing.
Yep.
And you have laid out a variety of, some of them very quickly, a variety of different frameworks and concepts that drive your business and how you operate. And I think that's super helpful for me, but certainly for a lot of people listening. So I really appreciate that.
Dude, I appreciate you giving the opportunity to kind of share some things I've learned and kind of in closing here, no matter what phase of the business you guys are in, if you're in 100,000 to 300,000 or 300,000 to $1 million or $1 million to 3 or 3 to 10 or 10 to 30 or bigger, there's always a certain set of problems that we've got to tackle as a leader of that company. And at the 3 to 10, 10 to 30, it is around leadership. It's around growing leaders, finding amazing leaders. And it's around delegating off a certain set of things. At the 10 to 30, you've got to really get great at delegating off strategy. And so start to work right now as that CEO of documenting framework and strategy better. Because the better that you can document, share, train strategy, or document, share how leaders should think and work, the better that you're going to be able to scale the company, and the more that you're going to be able to step into that unique zone where you can work with energy versus having it be drained. And the last thought, which is what I was going to mention earlier, is as we hit that $1 million a year a month, and the clouds didn't part, the angels didn't sing, my life didn't change. I've got plenty of money in the bank, and I've got a great team, and there's challenges to work through that force me to become a better person, better father, husband, leader. The thing where I started to really think about, it's like, what do I get joy in my work the most? It's not the money. The money just happens to be an output from that. And I'm like, I love when I get to connect with smart people, including my team members and customers. I love when I create things. I don't like maintaining the things. I love creating and connecting. And so I thought about that, 2-3 months ago. And I'm like, dude, that's it. I want to spend as much time as possible in my life and business creating things that are valuable to the world and connecting with amazing people. And so how do I build that more into my business? How do I build that more into my life? Creating and connecting. And so if there's any final word that I'll kind of pass along to you guys, that's when I'm in the most joy. That's when I'm in the most momentum. And if anyone is stuck in a spot where you're not in joy and you're not in momentum, think about that. Am I creating something that's valuable? You're probably not if you're stressed out and burnt out. And then am I connecting with people consistently that elevate me and I can elevate? And if you do that more often, I bet you'll be in joy and in momentum a lot more.
That's great, man. Where can people find out more about you or the company?
Dude, carrot.com to learn about how we can help investors and agents close more deals. And then Instagram, Trevor.Mauch, that's .MAUCH. Follow me over there, or the Carrot Cast. So I've got a podcast where a couple times a week. And then the Thursday episode, y'all, has nothing to do with real estate ever. It's called my Trevor Truck Talks. And I literally just pick up my phone on my drive home to my house. It's about a 15-minute drive. And I just talk about what's on my mind as an entrepreneur. So those are my Thursday episodes, Trevor Truck Talks, and get so many amazing feedback on that. So Carrot Cast. Or you can go to Carrot Cast and listen to an episode with yours truly. Dude, you have one or two on there. Yeah, there's at least one. I think there might be two. 100%. I think there might be two. Yeah. go look that one up, guys. That was on a lot of different topics, but it was on really pushing past those limits. Because guys, stay locked into this podcast. Because if you guys want to follow a guy who pushes past limits far beyond where most people think that a person can or should, Brad is that guy. He's such a good example there. So you challenged me a lot, man. Just when I follow you and watch you, I'm like, dude, I would have stopped by then. How do I learn from that and do the one more rep, the one more whatever? Because you're such a good example there, man. I appreciate that, man. Well, always good to see you. Looking forward to the next time. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Thanks, Trevor. If you learned one thing on this episode, share it with another entrepreneur. They need to hear it. Also subscribe so that new episodes just show up on your phone. It's a lot easier that way. And if you want the really good stuff, check out our free BAM! Tactics and Strategies course. It's where we curate the best tips, tricks, and tools that our guests know, whether they've shared them on the podcast or not. Just go to beyondamill.com. You'll also find previous episodes and show notes at beyondamill.com.